if you're a fashion blogger or your job directly relates to clothing, I know that it's not practical to be a super minimalist person, but I know that with this kind of mindset, it's definitely a lot more clear as to what you want to own, what you want to focus on, sustainable living. So you can be very, very stylish and have high quality items and still be quite minimalist. So it just really depends on what your lifestyle is, what your work is. So this kind of way of living is not for everyone, and I completely understand. 3.5 years ago, I used to live in a room that was part of a New Zealander designed inspired big house in Brisbane, and this room was as big as our kitchen and our lounge put together in this current flat. And I used to own so much crap that I've accumulated from when I was younger, since I was a really young girl till now, because I've maintained my stuff so well that the whole time, because of sentimental reasons, I was never taught that I could pass things on or let things go easily without feeling guilty that I was adding junk to the environment, and never really happy with what I had because I was always hanging on to stuff that I had already grown out of, but then I was wanting to purchase things or add things to my life that were starting to become more of who I am as I got older. So today, I am going to be talking about how minimalism has impacted my life. It is something that has drastically changed my mindset towards a lot of different areas in my life. I am not an expert. I am not an extreme minimalist. I have adopted minimalist habits and ways of doing. Honestly, it made life less stressful. No longer feel like I have to run this race of consistently on the next trend, owning things that the media, magazines or movies or whatever is going on social media, you should get this or you should get that. Taking a step back, saying, well, this is great, but is this true to me? Is this right for me? And I think at the end of the day, we don't really need that much stuff. At the end of the day, I think what we really want are experiences, memories. We want to be happy, we want to be joyful, we want to live an abundant life. I'm going to get into the first few things that have completely changed my life. To give you a little bit of background, I was born in Hong Kong and grew up in China, and as you guys know, that a lot of things are made in China. Cheap options and cheaper ways of producing stuff, all of that is made in China and made in Asian countries. For me, it was really easy to accumulate stuff that was really, really good. It was really cheap. Shopping was a huge hobby of mine because there wasn't an environment where you can go and explore lots of really beautiful countryside. I was living in almost what you would call a cement jungle. I would be doing a lot of activities where you would pay for the entertainment or pay for the things that you were doing. A lot of stuff that I grew up doing was not for free. As I grew up in an Asian culture, being frugal is like something to be so proud of, and being frugal is like ingrained into Asian culture. But at the same time, there's like a lot of generosity and like gifts of money when it's Chinese New Year or whatever it is. It's just slightly different. After living in lots of small apartments growing up and then going to Australia where your living space was a lot bigger, there was just so much more storage to be had. And so I just went wild with buying new clothes, buying lots of random items for fun, and then in the end it just started to collect dust. When I was telling you about that big room that I had, I didn't know how much stuff was starting to affect my environment. I was studying full-time at university, I was working jobs, I was doing my placements, and so I was getting out a lot. Then when I'm in my environment, I remember I would constantly procrastinate by tidying and cleaning, and it would just be so time consuming. Like I remember wasting so much time where my time management was out of whack because I was constantly tidying and cleaning because of all the things I had, all of your bedroom basics and all of the cool stuff from IKEA that would help you have smart storage and make sure that you can organize your stuff. But I not only organized my stuff, I was also just owning a lot of junk that I didn't need. And maybe it wasn't junk, but to me it started to become like junk. So for someone else to gain something that I may have donated to the charity shop, for them it's a treasure, it's something that they're going to use. Yeah, it started me thinking like, wow, this is not sustainable. This way of living is probably what I've done out of default, not actually learning and being aware of what I was doing. I had this revelation moment where I was like, oh my God. I remember when I started dating my now husband and we were doing long distance. He came over to Australia. I was like living with my parents for a really short season before I had moved to England. We started watching The Magic of Tidying Up with Marie Kondo on Netflix, and it quickly became my favorite TV show. She's Japanese. The way that they organize stuff, because Japanese homes are quite small, and just the layout and everything, you can't be at risk of owning so much without just making your space completely cluttered. I remember her going into these houses with a lot of sentimental items where she would do it really strategically. You can get her book or watch her show on Netflix. I will link it down below. I think this sort of living was kind of more so what you had in the olden days, but then when things became more easy to access, more easy to buy, more affordable, things being produced in mass quantities, that it became easy for our generation to consume and consume. And then it was society's way of showing us that this is what happiness is, when it really isn't. It's nice to own nice things, but then at the same time, you don't need a lot of nice things to be happy. If you buy stuff you use on a daily basis, or it really sparks joy for you, it definitely adds to your life. But when you have minimalist habits, really kind of make you aware of what's important to you. This is kind of almost like a testimonial, but it's like minimalism testimonial. After I started watching Marie Kondo's show, I ended up buying a ton of books on Kindle, and then I started using Kindle because I love that it was all these digital books on a Kindle instead of paperbacks, because I move around a lot. The current house, this current flat that I'm living in, is my 16th move, and it's involved a lot of traveling and moving around different countries, and it's definitely been a blessing. But I think at the same time, if you live in a country for a long period of time, or you buy a house, it's easier to own nicer things and to accumulate more stuff that's going to add to your life when it's like a house that you've bought. It's your pride and joy, whereas I'm not in that season. I'm currently in rentals, and I've been renting out a room in someone's house. I started to buy less. I started to spend money more on experiences, eating out and having coffee in order to socialize with other people. I'm a huge cooker. I love cooking at home. I don't have a huge desire to go out and eat all the time, because I'm very much happy and content to go to Aldi, go to Lidl, and bring my own coffee or tea on my walk in my thermos. And I love living like that because it really takes the financial pressure off of me when I was in seasons where I was at university, or when I was furloughed, or when all my weddings got canceled. And for me, this way of living, I know that my current income is not going to be the same forever, but my habits will stick with me forever. I want it to be also passed down and to set a tone for my kids, how they treat stuff and how they see life. And I want my kids to be able to enjoy life more from experiences and actually like going out and adventuring and exploring, without like making their go-to place the mall or the shops. Or I want it to just be something that they go to because they want to find the thing they actually need, instead of making it into a place that is giving them a dopamine hit. And now when I declutter my wardrobe, when I organize my stuff, when I pass things on to the charity shop, or I give my stuff to someone else, it gives me such a good feeling. And now that I know that I don't purchase a lot of things, and when I actually go and buy something, I use it so much, I feel like this way of living is so much more sustainable. After kind of getting into like my minimalism journey, I was able to dive deep into topics such as sustainable living. I love a slower, simple pace of living, and I just like doing a lifestyle that is so much more focused on actually enjoying life and doing life and spending less time taking care of my stuff. So I wanted to throw out some pointers. I've written it down because I didn't realize I was gonna talk on like this. First thing is a clearer headspace. As a creative and someone who is not naturally organized, I absolutely love having a tidy space. I love having less stuff because I remember when I used to try and do creative projects, doing my university assignments or high school work or any work for that matter. Like if I was working from home all the time, every day, I've seen a lot of people in this pandemic because I'm a photographer and I was working in hospitality while I was doing that. That was my job. And so at the moment, I'm not in front of a computer all the time unless I'm doing admin. If I'm sitting in an environment and I need to work, I need my space to be tidy, clean. I need it to be not cluttered. We don't have a lot of storage in this flat, and so because of that, because it's a temporary living situation, we haven't invested into tons of smart storage. But in our future home where we actually buy and own, I want a ton of really smart storage that's going to make the most of the space that we have. Number 2 is money towards experiences. I remember I used to pour so much money into lots of random things that I thought I needed, whereas this money could have gone towards savings, it could have gone towards travel. And I think if I could have done it differently, I would have stewarded my money so much more differently, and I would have been a minimalist from the very beginning. Minimalism has been a game changer for me. Being a minimalist for me means that removing and like moving on the stuff that isn't part of me or who I am anymore, being intentional with every single thing that I own. And I can't wait to show you, but I'm gonna do a massive decluttering video in the months to come, and it's gonna be the ultimate decluttering video. And I watched this amazing girl from Denmark. Her name is Use Less DK, and she does this low buy challenge, having a plan going into the year, how you treat the way you buy stuff. I probably won't be buying any clothes until the end of this year, until I'd like to add some new pieces to my wardrobe, because at the moment, with lockdown, with the pandemic in the UK, I have not actually had a chance to wear most of my clothing. Not wearing most of my clothes during this pandemic has shown me that I really don't need that many clothes. You know that feeling when you open your wardrobe and you think, oh my gosh, I have nothing to wear? I want to get to that point where I open my wardrobe and I can't wait to pull out my clothing. I can't wait to wear the clothes that I have in my wardrobe, and to make all of my wardrobe really sustainable. I want to have pieces that I'm going to have for years and years, like decades and decades. Like as long as I can wear them, as long as they don't wear out, I'm going to be wearing them. When you take on minimalism, it shows what you value the most. I parted with things that I thought I really needed for literally months. I never ever thought about them or even picked them up. And the best way to do this is that if you think that you can part with something but you're not sure, just put it in a box and then see how many times you reach for it in the next few months. And if one day, you know, you need something, you can borrow it. Or if you were to have more space and you have a garage and you think, oh, I might use that a few times a year, worth your time, worth your energy, worth your space. So it really depends on who you are. I found it so cool that when I started to become more minimalist in the way I lived my life and did my space, I was able to actually have a clearer mind, to be more creative and actually see it as a blank canvas to explore interior design, to explore what are my color palettes that I'm drawn to, what is it that suits me and suits John, and what do we want in our future home. And I think that's so wonderful, because oftentimes when we live life a certain way for so long and we're used to having it kind of be automatic, or you just kind of throw things on because they look pretty or look good, and it's not kind of planned out or intentional, or, you know, there's an actual design element to it. I think now I'm like, wow, I actually know what I'm more drawn to, and I can't wait to try these things out. I used to be really impulsive when it came to purchases. I think I really got a dopamine hit from doing that. Now, whenever I have the urge to buy something, I write it down, I put it in like a wish list. If I forget about it, then I don't think I really needed it in the first place. If it's something that I really was going to use, then I could go and purchase it and still be thinking about it, and it wouldn't be impulsive. I feel like it's going to really impact the way I raise my children. It's going to impact the way that I end up purchasing stuff for my children and what they use. How sustainable is it going to be? What kind of valuable lessons it's going to teach them. And I want to be that mom and that person who is really resourceful and can use things over and over and over again as long as I can, because it's so good for the earth. In my lifetime, I really want to contribute less to the landfills, because I know a lot of trash and a lot of the things that aren't recycled are dumped in Asia and dumped in places where the living conditions are not good for the people there, and it's not good for the children that live in those places. It's crazy the amount of times I've seen stuff where children are literally rummaging through trash dumps, and it's just crazy. Such a parallel reality to Western society. But yeah, it's definitely provided a more restful environment for me. I think having less stuff in the bedroom as well, there's less distracting things everywhere. It doesn't put me into work mode when I see my living space, especially since we have been stuck at home so much. It's like we can't escape the living environment that we're in. And for me, I wanted it to be really cozy, but really easy to clean, really easy to tidy, and really easy to live in. Even though I am slightly sick of my living space because I love going out a lot and exploring and seeing people, at the moment with everything that's going on, I'm really glad that the space that I'm in is really, really easy to live in because of how restful and non-cluttered it is. Ever since I adopted this way of living, I've been able to afford things like my camera gear. I've been able to afford things that actually bring me a ton of joy. A lot of people have asked me, wow, Meredith, like, you were a uni student, like how did you afford the stuff that you bought for your TAFE degree? And I was like, well, I was working 2 jobs. I was also doing photography on top of studying full-time, and also my TAFE diploma was really expensive for what it was, but it was 100% worth it. 100%. It was such an amazing experience. The money that I saved by not buying things and actually contributing it towards my education and what I was passionate about, I actually had more money to be able to buy gear that I was going to use for long term. I even prayed, God, help me to save my money and to steward it wisely, and so I can afford this camera gear that I've listed. I'm currently wanting to look at sustainable brands that I can buy from when I actually want to get new pieces of certain things that I'd really like to add to my wardrobe, because I have a set of jewelry that I've owned for a long time. I want to swap out all of the stuff that is starting to tarnish and replace it with either gold or silver plated items. That would be amazing. Back here we have an IKEA drawer set that is absolutely amazing, and we split it down the middle, so half of it is John's and half of it is mine, and then we have a tiny closet where we keep all our coats, but that is literally all of our clothing. Us being a newly young married couple, earning less, it makes it easier for us to move affordably, and no matter what flat, what place we go to, it'll just be easier to manage. We are quite adventurous people, and I'd really like my stuff to never stop me from being able to afford trips and adventures and memories and moving to lots of different places. And even now I pack less. I feel like I'm a bit more low maintenance and I'm more prepared, and I think the more that you dive into making travel, making different things more sustainable, easy to manage, it just makes everything happier and less stressful. Minimalism is a life hack to me, but it's a great life hack. And I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I really hope it helped. Please comment what are the best things that have happened to you in regards to decluttering, minimizing, and choosing a more simple lifestyle. Please tell me all of your experience down below. I feel like I haven't covered everything that I want to cover, but it's just a lot to put into such a short video. Hope that's really inspired you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.